Hello, St. Louis sports fans, and welcome back to your favorite sports podcast, The Lunatics. I'm your host, Tyler Edwards, along with my friend and co host, John, who is here joining us with a wonderful looking Cardinals hat. Is that new?
No, I just don't wear it. I haven't worn it as much lately because winter, mostly. No, big fan of this. Big fan of the Navy hats in general. This one came direct from the team store. In fact, I'm pretty sure I used my 10% discount I got for running the 5K, which is on my polo that you might be able to see, because it does come with a coupon. So basically, if you want 10% off once at the Cardinal store, where everything is 20% more expensive, run 3 miles and things will work out for you.
That's fair. More importantly, I saw you take a swig of something. What are you drinking this evening?
Nothing fun. I've got 2 types of water. I've got plain water in my giant ass water bottle, which does have some fun stickers. I've got some soccer ones I need to add soon, but these are all national parks. Cactus one is my favorite. And then I have sparkling water on the other side. And the reason I am double fisting water right now, for anyone interested, is because about 5 minutes before we recorded, I ate my weight in Chipotle, and I don't think my stomach lining can tolerate Chipotle and a beer tonight. So this is what we're going with.
That's fair. And again, nobody would blame you for those choices. For me, I'm going with the good old fashioned Buffalo Trace bourbon, just a classic. You can never go wrong there, you know?
No. That's, I will say, as far as bourbon goes, Buffalo Trace is one of the ones that's popular that I don't care for. But I understand that people do, but it's just not one I've ever gotten into. The other one is, what is it? Bullet. Any of the Bullet lines. Never got into them.
I like Bullet Rye. That's been the one that has been solid for me, but I get that.
Yeah, and I don't like rye whiskey at all, so that one's just completely off.
Hey, it's all good. You win some, you lose some, and in this case, you're missing out because Angel's Envy Rye is delicious.
You win some, you lose some. I lost a little on the rye whiskey. You're losing another bet to me. Shit happens.
Yeah, let's not talk about it, but we have to talk about it. So the Blues beat the Wild, which was exciting to see.
That was exciting.
You get out, you see them play hard. Then they follow that up with the win over the Flyers in the shootout last night, and you think, okay, maybe we're going to go on a little streak here, and even if we don't get back into the playoff race, because we were 7 points back, at least maybe I have a chance to win this bet against John, and I'm. Then tonight happens, and we let a 2-0 lead slip into a 4-2 loss.
Right. And I mean, here's the thing about this, they were pretty comfortably in that second wild card slot, and they had games in hand, and they were, ahead on points. And since, what day was this? Since the Predators game, which was February 17th, so like 2 weeks ago, they have lost 6 games and only won 3. So not looking as hot at the moment. Yeah, the pretty solidly looking like I'm going to win right now. 20 games left. They need 30 points. That's a lot, I think. I don't know.
It's a 1.5 a game.
Confident? Right.
I'm not confident in me winning this bet. I'm also not confident in the Blues making the playoffs at this point. I was my goal for the year and my hope was to hit that 90, 93 point mark and be competing for a playoff spot through the last day of the season, whether we made it or not, right? Make the games matter.
Sure.
And I feel like we're very quickly slipping into irrelevance.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the goal is always to make the playoffs. They're right where I thought they were going to be, right beneath the second wild card spot, and be competitive for that. They're a little bit more out of it than I think I was expecting at the moment, because they are now 5 points out of it. But that's really just 2 more wins over the last 20 games than the Predators. So it's not like they have to do that much better than the Predators to do, but I don't know.
It just seems like a tall hill mountain to climb at this point. With just again, it's been the story of the Blues all season long. It's the inconsistency. It's the the one consistent thing about the Blues is that they're inconsistent.
Yes. That is the best way to describe it. Like, I know our good buddy Jacob Steeb over at the Blues Fan Forum podcast has been doing some score predictions, like daily almost, for each game, and I've been really cracking up reading his guesses, because anymore it's just, he goes, oh, I don't know. I watch this team every day and I have no idea how they're going to play tonight. Like, they just are who they are.
So he had an awesome little survey going out.
Yes.
My favorite was at the very end when he asked about topics to discuss. And I don't know if he's done that episode yet, but I need to follow up, because my suggestion was to talk about how much better I was than you.
What's the competition? What are you better at than me?
Just in general. In general.
Height, hair. Random sports knowledge for sports I don't care about. Probably.
Random bits of trivia that nobody cares about.
Yeah. I mean, these are things we should not be competing over. Everyone agrees.
I'm just, I didn't specify in what. I just literally just
better.
Just better.
I'm basically
that was
just
my
a
suggestion.
Better person than you are. Is what I'm hearing.
If you go in and look at it, and that he actually comments, he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll be discussing that one for sure, right?" That's what he's talking about. Was my just blanket statement of how much better Tyler is than John.
I'm just better. End of story. You don't need to describe it. It's just, it's just a statement of fact. It's not even an opinion, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Beard shape. There's another one.
Yeah, beard shape. I got a little bit more fullness on the cheeks than you. If mutton chops ever come back, I would be elite.
Oh god, you'd have hands down, like your mutton chop game.
Yeah,
mutton chop game would be next
unparalleled. Unparalleled mutton chops. But that's okay, But unfortunately, this is not 1887 anymore, and it is the modern world where mutton chops are not cool.
You could make them cool. You haven't tried.
I don't think I've ever made anything cool in my life, other than getting drunk on camera with your friend to talk about sports.
I think
that's debatable on if it's cool or not, or pathetic.
I don't know if it's cool, but at least somebody's listening, even if it is just our moms.
Yeah. My wife does tell me she watches every clip you post. So keep those up.
Right? Don't worry. I've got more. We'll have more coming after this episode, hopefully, because I feel like we're going to have some fun takes as we get into it. Last big thing on the Blues, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit more once we get into some of our fans' hot takes, but trade deadline's coming up. I still don't see the Blues making any significant changes. They don't have enough pieces that people want. There's only really, a piece that people will want. And last I heard, Army was asking 2 firsts for it. And so we'll discuss that here in a little bit when we get to the hot takes, because there is a hot take that involves that, and I don't want to spoil things.
Yes. I do have to see. I haven't read it. I don't know if I'm going to. There's only like 2 days left, but JR over at The Athletic did have 14 trade proposals in an article today. I don't think they're real. I think they're fan submitted, but I think it'd be intriguing.
They were fan submitted. I know Randy Carricker from 101 ESPN submitted a couple of them, so it'd be intriguing to see if his made it up there.
I'm not surprised that you lost to Randy. He's basically a walking sports encyclopedia.
Oh my God, he is. Although I was listening the other day, and there's been days like where we listen and like I'll be like spouting off these answers before they even read the options,
Sure.
And then I'm like, oh, I could have beat Randy today. Then there's a lot of other days when like stuff pops up and I'm like, who the fuck would know this? And then Randy's like,
Only
oh,
Randy.
Well, by the way, I remember blah, 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 tells this whole life story about what was going on
that
at the
ends
exact
in the
moment.
correct answer.
Yeah. And I'm like, how in God's name does Randy do? I mean, it's impressive.
Well, I mean, if you had not spent your college years shoving random medicine facts into your head, you could have shoved random sports facts into your head, but made the wrong choice.
Yeah, I did. It's fine. If anybody from ESPN 101 ESPN's listening, if you guys ever need a guest host, call me up. I will call into work or take the day off and come help host some shows with you guys just for fun. Don't even have to pay me.
The day you're sick, there's a guy on ESPN that sounds just like you.
Oh God, no! I'd flat out tell my team what I was doing. But look, guys, I'm not going to be at work today because this is happening.
Priorities.
I have them.
You know what has not been a priority though for the Cardinals?
Signing pitching.
Starting pitching. I think the bullpen renovation has been decent.
We'll see.
So we've had a bit of a gut check moment this week. You want to walk our listeners through that whole situation?
So I would like to start this by saying the peripheral numbers, granted it is spring training, on our starting rotation in spring training have looked great.
Doesn't matter.
And it's been encouraging.
It doesn't
right?
matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm just saying, anytime you have guys who show up at their age and they at least look like they're pitching and pounding the strike zone, and my big thing was looking healthy, that's encouraging, right? Because these guys are older. And then our marquee signing, Sonny Gray, feels something tight in his hamstring and leaves the game. He has since had an MRI today that led to them diagnosing him with a mild hamstring strain. It is unclear at this point whether or not he will open the season on the injured list, on the IL. But what is clear is that Mo made a statement that he doesn't see a reason why we would need to sign or add any more pitching depth because we're fine right where we are in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really comfortable with the rotation that you have, and if it really is a minor injury, I think that's a reasonable take. The problem is that before we knew it was a minor injury, it was, oh shit, we really cannot afford to miss him. Like that is like almost like a come to Jesus moment, right? Like we cannot afford to not have Sonny Gray. If I think we're an 88 win team that could win the Central with Sonny Gray, I'm not confident we are an 82 win team without him, right? Like I think there's more than 6 losses there that you would lose. So that's concerning.
No, I agree. I think and you know, to that point, right? If it was any of the other pitchers, I'd be less concerned.
Exactly.
Right.
But he's the one pitcher we cannot afford
Lance
to lose.
Lynn, Kyle Gibson, Michaelis, I don't care. They have a flare up. Honest to God, we bring up McGreevy or whoever for some starts, some spot starts, and I don't feel like we lose much. When you lose your only true stud pitcher, and if he's out for any length of time, it is going to hurt, and it's going to hurt a lot.
Right. Well, and here's the comment that I made over on Twitter X, as they call it these days. And if your rotation, if losing one pitcher out of your rotation has the chance to completely derail your season from meeting your goals, that's poor roster construction, right? There's a reason you have 5 of them. And really the top teams really are 6, 7, or 8 deep out of their top 3 guys out of AAA, you know, and we're not that for sure. So yeah, I don't blame the Cardinals for not wanting to jump the gun for what appears to be a minor injury, but it should have at least forced them to acknowledge the fact that it's not enough if they lose him.
insert Tyler's plug for signing Brandon Woodruff, even though he's not available, because our pitching depth isn't great, and he gives us depth for the future.
Right. Even though he can't pitch this year, but in a year, we can make, like, that would be progress. That would make us happier as fans, like knowing like there is a plan. We are building this towards the long term. Right now, it doesn't. It feels like we slapped a couple Band-Aids on the giant water tank that's got the leak in it, or the duct tape, I guess, not really Band-Aids. And like, that's all we're doing to move forward. And that's not enough.
No, I agree. And again, and it's not like there's not other big name. I mean, there's two of the biggest name starters are still out on the open market. Now, that's probably because they're wanting more money than would be willing to spend.
Right.
But maybe you approach him, right? Maybe you approach a Jordan Walker or a Jordan Montgomery at this point. We do need to extend Jordan Walker sooner than later too, but that's another story. But you go to a Jordan Montgomery and you say, hey, you know what? Would you be willing to, come here on a, 4-year, 150, right?
Yeah. Well,
not out of the question.
4-year 150. That would be really close. I think if they could do it without going over the first level for the salary cap, I think they would be willing to pull that trigger. I think they're about 30 million off of it. I think their payroll right now is at 170, and I think it's 202 is the first threshold.
Put it for 150 and defer some of the money. So make it backload it some.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an even AAV, and then you stay under the cap and you're fine.
Ask him if he'd be willing to take a Shohei deal. Like, we'll pay you $2 million a year for the next couple of years.
He's not doing that, but yeah.
And then we're going to pay you $500 million for the rest of your life.
But you could do, you could do something where it's,
there's creative ways to do it for sure.
Yeah. 25, 30, and then 40 the back two or something, right? Like there's ways to do it. It's just whether they're willing to do that.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, I kind of was harping about, like, we need a plan. We need, like, to be figuring out what we're doing over the next few years. I did see an interesting thing today, and I think it was per Baseball America, their prospect list, their rankings for the Cardinals. Of the top 30, like 14 of them had been acquired since July of last year. And on first glance, that's like kind of concerning, because it's like, okay, why are we not having, like, why is our farm system so weak? But on the other hand, we've drafted extremely well for like the previous 6 years, and a lot of those guys have already made the majors. And we kind of restocked with some really good talent. Like, I'm not upset with the state of our farm system right now, because just so many of these guys have been promoted over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I get that. I think what's hard for us as Cardinals fans is we were spoiled. We had such a strong farm system in the early 2000s, right? I mean, every time somebody came up, it was like, oh, cool, they're going to plug a hole. But we also had a big league roster that was stable, that we were, keeping guys here. So it was easy to just plug and play when you needed somebody to step up and be the next guy up. Even looking back to 2013 with Michael Wacha winning the NLCS that got us going to the World Series. It's, he was a rookie. He came out and we needed somebody to fill a hole in the rotation down the stretch. He did it and then some. And so I think, there's so many questions right now I don't know if we're developing guys in the same way that we used to. And I don't know if that's it, if the game's changed that much in the last, 10 years.
I think you could make a case for the pitching that way. We have developed decent hitters. We've had consistent good hitters out of our farm system over the last few years. We never really lost that, but our pitching prospects have never, like over the last 6 or 7 years, I can't name one that I think came out of our system that stayed with us, that came out of our system that stayed with us. that, is a consistent major league player. I know that we've kind of gotten fleeced by Miami and Tampa Bay with some of the prospects we've given up that have turned into very good major league players. But other than, I don't know how much of that was us versus how much of that was like the player was always that good. You know what I mean? Like, or if it was, they know how to get them over that hump.
Going back to the pitching for a minute.
Okay.
Take it or leave it. The worst thing that happened to our pitching staff last year was losing the claw that was Mike Maddox on the mound.
No, that's not the worst thing that happened to our pitching staff last year.
I do wonder how much, though, the presence of Maddox being there versus Dusty Blake, right? Was right. Maddox, how much of a calming presence did he have over these guys, going through the ringer? Again, he also had that lovely claw he put on guys every time he went to the mound.
Yeah, but there was someone else missing last year compared to the year before that I think had an outsized impact on the whole clubhouse and especially on the pitching department.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he's still yet to show up, last I've heard. So what are we paying him for?
Well, Ollie says he has no idea when Yadi is showing up to camp, and Mo says that it should be like middle of March. So he could show up in May because they obviously have no fucking idea what's going on. So that's all I got to say about that.
I think the biggest thing, and if there was one stretch that Yadi needed to be in camp for, it's the first 2 weeks.
Probably when the pitchers and catchers are there, that would make sense.
When he can sit down and work with those guys and help them one-on-one before you start getting into more of the grindy piece of spring training and games and travel. And not that it's a lot of travel, but there's some. But yeah. To me, it would make the most sense for him to be there. And obviously nobody has any idea what Yadi's doing except for Yadi. And I love Yadi.
Right.
But that's a whole other situation there. Go ahead.
Speaking of players going on to perform roles for teams after their playing days are done, as I know that you know, and probably most of the people who actually listen to our podcast know this, when Albert originally signed with the Angels, it was for his 10-year deal plus a personal services contract after he was done playing. He has, as of like yesterday, reported for the personal services portion of that contract. And I wanted to bring that up because I think a lot of people forgot that there was also that, and it's still just bizarre to me to see him in Angels stuff, even, retired. But yeah, I thought that was like funny. Like, oh yeah, that did happen. That is a thing. He's back.
Like, I know it's a thing. I just am in denial that it's a thing, and will continue to be in denial it's a thing.
I mean, it's gotten being in denial has gotten you this far in life, right? So like, why wouldn't you keep using that strategy?
Honestly, being in denial is the only reason I'm still where I am in life.
There you go. You're a modern day success story.
I'm a modern day something story.
Yes.
A modern day story.
Just a story. We don't know what the story's about, but it is a story.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
But it's probably about me being better than you.
That's what I've been told. Maybe Jacob will tell us more about how that works out.
I need Jacob to actually tell me how I'm better because I don't actually know. So that's on him.
Yeah, that's fine. But I will say, Jacob hosted a watch party and I showed up and you didn't. So I think I have jumped you in the Jacob friendship rankings. So
we'll see.
I don't have anything else as far as like recent happenings with the Cardinals. Do you?
I don't either. Let's jump over to City real quick because we got some fun City things. I say fun, one not so fun thing. So we're St. Louis City SC. We've now played 4 games in this roughly 2 week stretch. We are 2-1-1 in all competitions. In the league, we are 1-0-1. We were 1-1 in the Champions Cup, and we bowed out early based off the away goal differential tiebreaker.
Stupid fucking tiebreaker.
I don't disagree, but you know, I still go think back to when Houston scored the goal in St. Louis, and the fact that like our players all looked gassed, and Carnell still waited till like after they scored the goal to sub anybody off.
Right, and
now,
like
on the flip side of that, this past Saturday night in league play, started seeing subs start trickling on earlier. Our first sub came on before the 60th minute. It was like the 58th minute or something.
Yeah.
I didn't say a lot before the 60th.
I don't even remember.
I want to say, was it Ostrak for Indy? Or Klaus for Indy?
Klaus for Indy was that was, I think, the first sub. Where the hell's the ESPN? Why's your website suck?
Yeah, so
yeah, Klaus came on. I didn't think Klaus and Sam looked as bad as they normally do, but that could be because of your favorite player, Celio, who had a freaking awesome night on Saturday. Beat you to giving him the shout out. I'm sure you're real pissed about that.
No, you're fine. I was going to talk about him a lot anyway, but my favorite guy, my man, Celio Pompeu, was on fire. That first shot he rocked off the woodwork,
the post
early in the game was, I thought that was in. And then for him to later in the game get the ball, slice through the defenders, and then just calmly, coolly, just let me just pass it into the corner where the goalie can't touch it. I thought was a nice touch.
That one that rocked off of the frame, I remember watching it because he kind of did the same thing where he kind of had to move, not necessarily through some guys, but avoid some guys trying to take the ball back from him. And then he took that shot and it ends up hitting the post. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, Celio's feeling it tonight. Like he's going to have a night. And sure enough, he did, because he then, had that later one. And then on Sam's awesome goal, that is like only a goal that Sam can score, Celio had the assist on it. And, I can't wait till we get to our hot take section and questions from listeners, which is what we're going to be doing next, because we've got several about Celio that I think we should get to, and that you're going to enjoy talking about.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy talking about it because Celio is my boy. The other thing that I want to point out, and this is something that I was struggling with off and on in the game, is Aziel Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He has moments where he looks
phenomenal,
amazing, right?
Elite.
And then he'll have long stretches where I'm like, what the hell are you even doing on the field? And some of it is even as far as just like, are you gassed right now? Are you just, early in the season? You just don't have the legs. But I mean, watching that game, and so you and I were both there at the game live. I then rewatched the game Sunday while everyone else in my house was taking a nap. And while rewatching it, there was multiple times where literally everyone is on their horse to get back on defense, but AZ.
I have not rewatched
three different occasions that I could point out where, everyone else is trucking back, and two of those, he was the one who lost the ball, and he lost the ball and just threw his hands up and just slowly walked back while everyone else is trucking back to get on defense.
Which, on a lot of teams, you can maybe get away with that sort of thing if you're one of the better players, or thought of to be one of the better players. This is not a team where you can get away with that. I think the only person who can kind of get away with throwing his hands up and being angry is Klaus, who will do that. And then he's going to run his ass off to try to get the ball back. Like he's always going to hustle for it.
So, and the difference between AZ and Klaus, right? Or not AZ. Yeah, AZ and Klaus is, I see Klaus throw his arms up in the air sometimes, right? When he's like, hey, I was wide open. He does it and he moves on. But then the next time somebody plays a ball in the right spot or does the right thing, he is the first one to praise them for doing the right thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm only seeing the negativity out of AZ. I'm not seeing the turn around and pick the teammates back up too when he feels like they're playing and doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, and I did not watch on replay, and based on, kind of where I was sitting and the positioning, I couldn't necessarily always see AZ that well. I felt like he was a little bit more composed on the ball than he was in previous games, but I also think that could be because he was not being pressed as high as he was against Houston and RSL. And so I think he was kind of able to take his time a little bit more. He did have one really good shot that was definitely on frame. At watching it, I thought he was off, but seeing the replay after the fact, I do think that Freese got like an armpit on it and like barely deflected it.
No, he put his hands on it. So if you watch the replay, that should have been a routine save for Freese, and he misplayed it bad.
Yeah,
barely got his hands on it and pushed it to the post. But there was not a lot of pace on it. It was just a slow roller.
Yeah. If he had hit it harder, it would have been in for sure.
Yeah,
because he could have beaten Freese. Yeah,
but Freese misplayed that bad too. Like it should have been an easy routine save for Freese, and then it is what it is. But yeah, on replay and watching it over again, I was like, because live, I was like, oh my god, that was off the post, and man, that but I was sitting on the other side of the field, right? So from my angle live, I was like, wow, and then watching a replay, I'm like, meh,
right?
But he did look a lot more composed on the ball than he did the previous games, a lot less sporadic, but there's still times once he gets pressed, he still looks nervous and uneasy on the ball. And it makes me wonder, because Ostrak played so well starting when he did. Does Ostrak maybe try to force his way into the lineup? I'm not saying right away, but if this continues, the AZ, does Ostrak potentially take that spot?
Well, let's also point out that Ostrak was thought to be, when this team was signed, he was one of the few people that the pundits, who have been wrong, admittedly, about our team a lot, but Ostrak is a guy who really probably should have been a written and pinned starter for this team. Like, he is, I think, the 5th highest paid player on the team. He is, for his age, he has a really good pedigree before coming to St. Louis. I mean, he was a rotation player for FC Köln in the Bundesliga, and I think he's not getting any better minutes here. Well, last year he did not get better minutes here than he got there. So far he's played a decent amount, and I think he's looked pretty decent. I mean, I know we kind of played him out of position the one game, playing him deeper in the midfield as opposed to more attacking in the midfield.
He actually impressed me when he played in that role, though, a lot.
I was not
that he was blowing me. I mean, not that he was like blowing me away, but like I didn't expect it from him, right? So he impressed me in his versatility.
Yeah, your expectations for how well he will perform in that role are very low, and he exceeded those expectations basically. But I don't know. I do have a thought about AZ being pushed out of the lineup, but I'm going to save it for the rest. Do you want to list anyone else who has impressed you so far, so we can move on to our hot takes?
The easiest one, and the one who may have been pushing Celio for my favorite player on the team had he been on the team last year, Totland.
Oh yeah, good choice.
The guy is an absolute monster, and I love every minute of watching him play.
Yeah. He's been really impressive for me. Dewar finally got on the pitch, so I can't wait to see if he's the same as Totland, but on the left. Durkin has really impressed me. I don't think he was as crisp on the ball Saturday as he had been in the previous games, but I just love his physical presence. I love his hustle. Leuven had a good game on Saturday. Nielsen had easily his best game as a City player on Saturday. And that's funny, because the game before that we were like, this is Nielsen's best game as a City player, and then he elevated again.
He had a couple of real good games last year too, but
not like consistently start to stop as good as this game.
So the you mentioned Klaus, and I think, or not Klaus, Leuven. Leuven's a really big one because he looked off those first two games, and again, a lot of it has to do with fitness and going back and getting visas and things taken care of, or green cards. You see if they're looking for whatever. Either
we
way,
know what you mean.
But Leuven's over there was dealing with that, missed out on a lot of early preseason stuff. So to see him be more comfortable with the team, kind of look like his old self. We talked about Celio making the nice pass to set up Sam for that goal. But the pass to Celio to break Celio on that run came from Leuven.
Right. Well, and Leuven assisted Sam's goal against RSL too. So like he's still coming up in big moments, for sure. But I just felt like Houston in particular, he was more consistently finding those good touches. And I think he had the assist on Tim Parker's goal in the first Houston leg too. I think he took the set piece that Parker scored on. Not 100% on that.
For some reason, I thought it was Indy.
We'll look it up. We won't get back to you, listeners.
We'll look it up. I didn't think Leuven started. I thought it was Indy that had that.
Leuven did not start, but I thought it was after he came on. But that I could easily be wrong. But
it's all good.
Because it was 2 weeks ago.
Anyway, there's one more thing for City we want to mention. If you want to talk about it, because I know you're definitely.
I get a little animated on this. Yeah, so I'm going to try not to go on an all-time rant here about MLS. But MLS has decided essentially that not all teams will be competing in the U.S. Open Cup. If you're listening to this and you don't know what that is, the U.S. Open Cup is essentially exactly what it sounds like. It's an open tournament where anyone can participate. And when we say anyone, we mean literally anyone. Amateur teams that play for fun can enter in this tournament and progress far enough in theory that they could end up playing professional teams such as those in MLS. MLS's reasoning for this combination of different things have been thrown out, that the tournament doesn't make any money, that it's a huge cost issue for the teams, that there's fixture congestion, which is a problem that MLS created themselves by creating the Leagues Cup tournament. So lots of things. So I'm not going to go too deep into which teams will be participating. There are some teams that will be playing their reserves. The Canadian teams don't participate because it's a U.S. tournament. So the 3 teams from Canada play in the Canadian version, of which all 3 of them are still playing in the Canadian version. It is a much smaller tournament, to be fair. DC is not playing at all. And then none of the teams that played in the Champions Cup, except for Houston, will be playing in this tournament. And the only reason why Houston gets to play in the tournament is because they are the defending champions. So they get to, quote unquote, defend their championship. We've talked a lot about why this tournament matters to people in St. Louis, the diehard soccer fans especially. So teams from our city have won this tournament 10 times. It's, teams from breweries, teams from nursing homes, or not nursing homes, funeral homes. When we talk about our history as a soccer capital and as a soccer city, it's a large part of it is based off of the Open Cup. And so if we are not participating in it, it kind of feels like empty, these statements we say about our history, basically. So you and I have not, I think we've kind of talked about this. A lot of the supporters groups all of the St. Louis supporters groups have already said that they will be boycotting organized activities for Leagues Cup, which is the midsummer break tournament that MLS will participate with Liga MX. I don't know what our peers in the podcasting community all tend to do, but I get the sense that a lot of them will be doing some form of boycott as well. Whether that means just not attending the matches, whether it means not watching them, not covering them at all, that's, kind of up in the air for a lot of the other podcasts. Personally, I don't know if I'm going to watch them. I know I'm not going to attend them. but yeah. And the other thing I kind of wanted to say, just while like thinking about it and talking about it, is I don't really intend to cover it on the podcast. I would rather not. The whole point of this tournament is for the league to make money, which I want to happen, but not at the extent, not to get rid of the oldest tournament in our country at its expense. So that's my view.
The only reason I could see myself covering it is if for some reason we got to, semifinals, finals, and won, and obviously it's worth mentioning.
Right.
But otherwise, I have no want to myself to really cover it. I don't know that I'll watch the games. If I watch the games at all, it's just going to be based on, hey, are there guys that we're starting that I haven't seen and I want to see their form,
Right.
and it
Right.
has less to do with me cheering stuff on. But I definitely will not be at those games.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to say about the attendance, if you're someone who has not gone to a game because of the cost of tickets, these tickets do tend to be cheaper. Like if this is your chance to afford it and get in the stadium and check it out, like please take it. Like this team is meant to be for everyone. Like this is not don't put this above that. If you're wanting to take your kids, if they're huge fans and whatever, like do that. It won't be the same atmosphere because there won't be, the supporters groups kind of leading the chanting from the north end. But yeah, I don't want anyone to miss out on a good opportunity to watch the team play over this. There are plenty of people who are diehards who are going to take this boycott and make their voice heard for sure. So
yeah,
that's the last thing I want to say about it.
Yeah. It was like the casual fans who are finally have a chance to go to a City game. Yeah, go check it out. But just know that it won't be the same. But it is a good opportunity for you guys to see the team live.
Right.
All right, let's get to the more fun.
Let's get to the fun stuff
of this episode, which is, for those of you who are unaware, we've made some posts on social media asking our listeners for hot takes and questions for us to cover here on our thing. Also, I'd like to point out that I was correct, and Indiana Vassilev did have the pass that Tim Parker headed into the goal.
Oh, well, look at you. You were also perfectly right on the sub in the last game. I had that pulled up. It was 59th minute for Klaus for Indy. Nailed it. Okay, so I want to start with a fun one. Okay, I think these are all fun, but this one is like really fun.
Oh,
okay?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I tagged, I made this post and then I tagged our good friends, the City Refs, and I asked them, hey, what do you got for us? What kind of hot takes do you have for us? And they came up with what's probably, honestly, the best content that we could possibly have had. I'm kind of sad that I didn't come up with something like this already. So you have to pick 3 players from the Blues who you think can score on a header in the goal. Now, it did not say, on Berkey, right?
Well, nobody's scoring on Berkey, so that's fine.
Nobody's scoring on Berkey. He's a brick wall. But 3 players from the Blues. Who do you think can score a header?
All right. So 3 players. My first one is going to be real obvious because everyone's probably going to pick him, Robert Thomas.
Yeah, fair. Would agree. He's on my list.
Those flowing locks flying through the air, putting his head on the ball. It's going to happen. Next one,
great.
Maybe less obvious to you. I think Benner. Benner's not afraid to put. I don't think he's not afraid to do anything. He'd get up there and put his head on the ball. He'd redirect it towards net. He's not going to shy away.
Okay.
Plus, I just the oddball pick, right? Of Benner. So those are my first 2. My third one, I was kind of toying and going around, and I was like, okay, who would be a good one? And I landed on a younger guy who I think is pretty athletic, and have a good chance. But I went with Jake Neighbors. Guy knows how to find the net.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I would not have taken Neighbors. I would have not have taken Benner. I actually would have taken Sonny. because he's a huge soccer fan.
Oh,
So I think he's probably practiced it, and he's a big guy too, right? And then the other one that I would have taken is Pareko, just because I think Pareko, with being 6.5 feet tall, he's going to get on a lot of balls, and I could see him just slamming them down into the net.
Oh man, yeah. No, yeah. I think those are all solid picks, and then I can't fault you for any of those. I think the other one that I almost picked and I didn't, also fast on the ice. Decently fast. Toropchenko was the other one that I thought about.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. I'll leave it at that. Now, the other question that they gave us then, kind of reverse, is which 3 City players do you think can score from center ice?
I'm going to let you go first on this one.
That's fine, because I'm taking the most obvious of answers.
Go for it.
I'm taking any combination of the Vikings. So, like, I'm taking Nielsen. I'm taking Totland. I'm taking Thor. I would probably take Jensen, and I would probably consider Dewar as well. But I'm definitely taking Nielsen. I'm definitely taking Jensen because they're big guys, and I know that they had to have played hockey as well because of that. And then out of Thor and Totland as my third one, I am inclined to take Totland because he just seems so freakishly athletic that he could probably just do it.
So when I read can score from center ice, I'm picturing guys who can just put the stick down and put the puck on. I did have the thought to go with all the Vikings, but I thought I'd have some more fun and go a little bit different route. So Celio's on my squad because Celio, he's going to score. He knows how to handle.
He knows how to score
and anything. Yeah, he knows what to do. The other one, and this is just because I want to see him do it, Berkey. Because I want to see Berkey out there.
There's no doubt in my mind that Berkey could do it.
He's also Swiss.
That's not Sweden, but you're very close. I'm really going to have to show you a map of Europe.
That's fine.
Switzerland and Sweden are not the same place.
No, I realized what I said, but he did play for the Swedish national team.
The Swiss national team.
Was he on the Swiss national team? I thought he was on Sweden.
He is Swiss. He is not from Sweden. He is from Switzerland.
It's fine.
They're different fucking countries.
If Berkey ever listens to this, call me up and correct me. It's fine. More importantly, Nielsen, I just want to see Berkey try to score from center ice. So that was an easy pick for me. And then the last one again is all for just straight. This is who I want to see try to stand on the ice and score the puck was Klaus.
Yeah, because he's bow-legged.
Yeah.
I knew immediately. He knows where the net is, though. I mean, he knows how to score. He could do it. Now, he would fall down, like, immediately, right? Like, that guy can't skate, right? Like, we all agree that he can't skate. But I think he could score.
Yeah. So, he'd get the shot off as he went to the ice. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any Cardinals players you think could do either thing?
I'd put Jordan Walker in either group. The guy's freakish athletic.
Freakish athlete, yeah.
So for sure, I'd put him out there. Honestly, Newt is somebody that I could see being able to do those kind of things. He's just, again, hell of an athlete all around. Tommy Edmonds, another one of those, like, just athlete all around. Donnie's another guy, Brendan Donovan, that I think would be able to do things. The one that I would love to see, and I don't think it would go well, which is why I want to see it. I want to see Miles Michaelis trying to score a header in a soccer game, or just on a free kick.
Yeah, there you go. Him or Lance Lynn, either one of them could walk up, and I'd be like, this is what I'm here to watch. Like this is the new American sport right here. I do think Arenado could do either of these things as well,
and Goldie too, probably.
Yeah.
Goldie, the hockey thing for sure.
Right. Yeah, that's where I think of for Goldie. The header would be a little bit harder for him, but yeah, I think Arenado is and I will give a non-Cardinal. I think Shohei Ohtani could probably do this because he just seems like that person who is freakishly good at literally everything he has ever tried in his life.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure Shohei could go pro in any sport he wanted, playing
Absolutely.
any position he wanted.
Oh. And Mookie Betts, also another. Yeah, Mookie Betts, that's professional athlete in 2 sports. So, bowling.
Hey man, don't be hating Mookie's bowling.
I'm not hating on Mookie's bowling. He's a better bowler than he is a baseball player, and he's a very, very good baseball player. So, here was a question that was sent to us. Do you think baseball should have a hard salary cap? I do think this question, when it was posted, that I do think they were a little bit confused because there is a soft salary cap in baseball. You exceed it, you pay a tax essentially to the rest of the league, and the amount you exceed it increases the amount of the tax. But do you think there should be a hard cap?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm really tired of watching the Yankees and everyone else outspend.
It's when you have teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Cubs, you name whatever team at any given point. The Mets are another one,
Mets,
right?
Yeah, the big one right now.
San Diego, a couple years ago, last year and the year before. It's these teams that just go out and just drop a ton of money and drop all the money to buy their teams, and it just, it'll never happen because the Players Association will never ratify a salary cap. They've fought against it for years. It's just not going to happen. But it is something that I think, you look at the parity in other sports compared to the parity in baseball, and it's, it gives fan bases hope. Unless you're a fan of the Cleveland Browns, who will forever be the laughing stock of the NFL, you feel like you've got a chance, right? At least every few years, things cycle back around and the competitive balance is restored and you have a chance. And Major League Baseball never truly feels that way.
No, it's the same. And there was a good stretch where, you kind of thought you were seeing some others, but it was just a changing of the guard, right? Like the 2010s, at like 2015 and on, it really felt like, okay, we're seeing new teams be competitive and go deep, but it was just changing out from the ones who were, really good in the late 90s and mid 2000s. So I agree with you. Now, Dylan Carlson, spring training, is 2 for 15, no extra base hits. Should we be concerned?
Yes. And this is why we should be concerned. How many times has Tommy Edman had a plate appearance in a spring training game?
0.
Yeah. And that's why we need to be concerned. So if your backup, your person to be ready is Carlson, and Carlson needed to show that he's improved with the bat because his defense was never in question. The reason the guy wasn't playing was because of his bat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, and this is where I'm actually going to jump to another question here because I think this directly plays into it in just a minute. But I am concerned. I am worried about what that's going to look like. If we don't want to call up any of our top prospects, what that probably means is that Newt Bart's going to play center, and then you're going to put Donnie out in left field with Brendan Donovan in left, and you're going to be playing Gorman more at second, or some combination thereof.
Right.
With those guys. But to me, and it also depends on this Edman injury situation, because Mo kind of kept saying, oh yeah, he's our everyday center fielder. This is what it's going to be. We're ready. He'll be ready to go. And then you get to spring training and you find out that there's a whole lot more going on with this, and there's a lot of delays, and he's not ready to go. And we're not sure when Edman will be ready to go. And again, this isn't a slight on Tommy Edman. This isn't Edman's fault. It's not Edman's job to plan ahead because he had to have surgery and there was some setbacks. That's the front office's job to put in those contingencies and be ready to go. because of that, I want to jump to another question we had from one of our fans, which was, do you think Victor Scott II, or as John Love loves to say, Victor Scott II, will go break camp with Major League Baseball, up at the Major League Club with the Cardinals, or in AAA? If Carlson doesn't show to me that he can bat and he can do what he needs to, in my mind, it makes sense for Victor Scott to break camp with the big league club, at least until Edman's healthy.
Yeah. I do want to say that it's me. I am the fan. I asked that question. So I want to give myself a little shout out there.
We'd like to thank our listener, John Love. You haven't actually listened to a single episode yet.
No, I have not. I don't even watch the clips that you post, to be honest. So
hey man, I've upped our real game like 5 million%.
That's great.
In the last week and a half.
I'm very proud of you. Again,
that's
your
good.
modern day success story.
Will you tell my wife and my mother that you're proud of me, just so they know that somebody is?
Yeah, I will do that. In fact, I'll message them as soon as we get off of this. I'll let them know. Tyler says I have to say that I'm proud of him because you're not. You're going to wake up to so many angry messages. Okay, so we're going to kind of bounce around here through the rest of the list, I think, just because they are in an order, but the order makes no sense. Essentially, it was basically as they came in. So Anthony Marcanic has, I think, played pretty decent so far this season for St. Louis City. But we know that they brought in Nicholas Dewar to be the starting left back. Like, that's not in question. That was the plan. Do you think that Marcanic stays as the starting left back until he plays poorly, or that as soon as Dewar is 90 minutes fit, that they're just going to swap him?
So my answer's complicated. So I apologize in advance. And by complicated, I mean, it's going to depend on what's going on in practice.
Sure.
We've seen Carnell very much reward players who are practicing and looking good and doing the right things in practice with minutes. On the flip side, this is where it gets hard, is that he's also, if guys have been playing well, he has not shown an inclination to just randomly bench them.
Yeah.
So this is where I was really hoping to see us move further in Champions Cup, is that it would have given us, again, more fixture congestion, but more time to also figure out who's playing better and use those minutes up. Part of me wonders if we're going to see at some point, if it gets to a 50-50, okay, I'm not sure who to go with. You start one and you sub the other at halftime.
Yeah.
And you kind of split the game half and half.
Could be.
But I think long term, Dewar is the one who's going to be our left back.
Sure. Yeah. It's a question of when, not of if.
It's just when. And I think the win is going to depend on, it's also going to depend on Marcanic keeping his cool.
Yeah.
Because what happened when John Nelson got a red card?
Kyle Hebert hops on over to left back.
I mean, he never saw the field again.
Yeah. Well, he did for the Galaxy.
He did, but you know what I mean.
Right. No, yeah, he played like 2 more games, I think, for City.
He played sparing minutes after that, but he essentially didn't. He was essentially written out.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a complicated thing, and we're really just kind of guessing at which trend that BC has shown is going to be the overriding one here. Another question about starters. So Sam and Salio, right? Sam has been our hottest attacker so far, most in form. Salio just was man of the match against New York City. Do you consider them currently must-start players, even if that means it's over Klaus and AZ? And this is like at the moment. This is not like, No. I get what you're saying.
In current form, if I had to pick Celio and Sam or Klaus and AZ, I'm picking Celio and Sam if it's a package deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just like whatever, but yeah.
If you're saying Celio or AZ, I'm picking Celio every time, not just because Celio's my boy, but because even just watching the effort level to get back on defense, the little things, his ability on the ball, both AZ and Celio are people who I think pride themselves in their ability to beat people off the dribble. One of them is a lot better at it than the other.
Yes, I would agree with that. Another thing that I would add on before going to the next one is, you talked about not just the effort, but I guess like the body language and kind of like seeing some frustration out of AZ in the last game. And that is something that you never see out of Celio. And I know he has played substantially less for City than AZ has. Like, that's not what we're getting at here. But like anytime you see Celio come in, whether it's starting or whether it's off the bench, he's like, trying to get everyone up and like trying to like motivate them, saying like, come on, we've got this. We're going to win. We're going to claw back. And I mean, he almost single-handedly, willed this team the victory in the second playoff game against Kansas City last year, right? And not just because he scored that just freakishly amazing Golazo, right?
But from the moment he came on the pitch, right. Celio was he was the best looking guy on the pitch. He was putting the ball in dangerous
places. Well, he's just a
good
looking guy in general. Like, that's,
Yeah. And it's not just then, right? I mean, like, we were getting our absolute asses handed to us by Club America last year. And Celio came in and was like, example. No, guys, we still we have something to play for here, and shows up and is just showing out because there was still something for him to play for. So if you gave me a choice right now, if I was drafting a team and I had to pick a player to pick for my team and it was between those two, I'd pick Celio every time because I feel like I can find other players that have the skill set of AZ, that have speed and the ability to just, do those things. But I don't feel like the tenacity, not just necessarily leadership, but the tenacity and the ability to really just try to pick up his team members and the true 100%, we talk in hockey about a 200-foot game, right? But the whole field game and the no quit motor, which I think is, which is sad because I think that's the one thing we really recognized AZ for last year was his motor never stopped. But this year it's almost like he's flipped a switch.
You have to reel it back in a little bit. Like, that's one of the things that I think Sam does really well, right? Is that he changes the pace of play when he's on the ball and when he's off of the ball very well. And I think, if you watch Sam, like, he's not always like 100% sprinting to go out, right? Or Messi. Messi is like the best example of someone who does this, right? Messi is straight up walking for 85 to 90% of the game. And then he's not that terribly fast, in a dead sprint. He's quick.
Not anymore.
Well, yeah, not anymore, right. But it's the timing that he does it, that he activates it. He activates it when everyone else is walking or just not paying attention. Like if AZ can learn that skill, that would be very helpful for him.
So Big Sam and Klaus. In current form, and the way that our team has been playing, I think Big Sam, if I'm picking one striker to go up top, it's going to be Big Sam. I also think that Big Sam plays and profiles better as a lone striker.
I think so. Or at least I think compared to Klaus. Yeah, I think there are other strikers you could pair with him, but I don't think Klaus is one.
To me, the way that we played Klaus Saturday is the best way, right? It was more of a midfield approach, and they seem to click a little bit better. They seem to be more on the same page,
right?
And that's what I would ideally see if I'm playing them both. But the one who just seems to be more in form, to me, is Sam. And so at this moment, I would say Sam. But I mean, there was last season. If you again, there's only it's a small sample size, right? We're 4 games in,
right?
Because if you had asked me last season, I would have picked Klaus. without a second thought. But so far, Sam has been the better of the two, and the more consistent of the two, and the more dynamic of the two. And so I also think that Celio and Sam play very, very well off each other.
Yes.
But I mean, I could say that with Celio and lots of people, right? But they seem to have a good understanding, and Leuven seems to, as of right now, seems to be reading the runs that Big Sam is making much better than the runs that Klaus was making.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you know who City's all-time leading scorer is?
All-time leading scorers. You're just talking first team?
Yeah, first team. Yeah, City, senior team.
Klaus.
And?
Big Sam?
Big Sam now has tied Klaus and Nico also currently. They're all tied at 10 goals. What's interesting about it is for Klaus and Sam is that they both reached that 10 goals in about 21 games. I think for Klaus and Sam's less than that. It's about a half a season of both. Sam's at 20.
Yeah. I believe is what it was. There was a graphic on the game when I was rewatching it. And I think it was, he had 9 goals and 19 appearances, and then he scored the goal later. So I think it's 10 and 20 now.
Gotcha. Well, and he, I know he's only played like 1,200 minutes for the team. So his like goals, he's scoring almost 1 goal per 90 minutes played, which is, 1 per game basically. So he's doing pretty good. I'm going to skip the next question because I think we've talked enough about these. I want to get back to some Cardinal stuff.
I want to hop onto the other one really quick.
Okay.
So Durkin and Blom, while we're talking City.
Sure.
If you had to pick one to start right now, tomorrow, who do you pick, Durkin or Blom?
Well, this is Blom is injured at the moment.
Blom is injured right now, but
right.
No injury. Who do you pick?
I'm probably picking Durkin, which pains me because Blom is probably, he's definitely one of my top favorite players. I think Durkin is a little bit better on the ball, beyond just getting it and holding on to it for 3 seconds. I think Blom is very strong on the ball, but when he tries to move with it, I think he is maybe not as good on the ball. And I think Durkin is a little bit better at finding the right pass than Blom is. I do think generally I have felt that Blom is more physical in the tackles until this last game. But I think Durkin is maybe a little bit better at playing in space and cutting off passing lanes. I just think him and Blom are different in that respect in terms of what they try to do. But yeah, I'm probably taking Durkin for those reasons.
Yeah. For me, and this is a weird twisted answer. It's going to depend on the guys that are playing around him. Around them, obviously, but I agree. I think if I had to pick one right this instant in current form and what I've seen, Durkin's my guy. I'm still dreaming of a 4-2-3-1 type situation where Durkin and Blom are both playing, and for the reasons you just stated, they play such different styles while they still play the same position, but they do very different things on how they attack the ball and play defensively. Yeah. I think they would play incredibly well off of each other, which is why I kind of wanted to.
Oh yeah,
to hit on
I think
this.
That's a great point. And the other part is that if they do that, we've talked a lot about moving Leuven up into a more attacking role. And I heard a theory today, I think it was on the River City Ramble, that they postulated essentially that Leuven is better as an 8, than a 10, because when he's farther back, he has more of the room of the field to survey and look and to find the right pass. Whereas when he's in the more forward role, he has less of the field to work with to make that good play, that line breaking pass or to find the right guy. I don't know how I feel about it. It's just a thing I heard today that I'm still, mulling over in my head, but I get their logic and I'm not against it for sure.
Yeah. If Blom was healthy, right, my go-to starting 11 right this minute would be Nielsen and Parker at the back and central. Totland is a no-brainer on the right. Anybody who thinks anybody else should start over there is an idiot. You're not just wrong, you're stupid. But the left side is either Marcanic or Dewar, pending how things move forward.
Pending, yeah.
But then I think it's a 4-2-3-1, and I think current form, right? If Blom was healthy, it's Blom and Durkin in the back, with the ability of Durkin to be able to push forward and play more offensively, and Leuven can drop back some to cover that space if needed, with Leuven playing at the 10 up there. I think you have Celio and Indy with Big Sam up top as your lone striker.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very strong lineup you just put out there. Transitioning back to the Cardinals for a little bit. Who leads the Cardinals in home runs this year?
Ooh, who leads the Cardinals in home runs this year? I actually thought about this, and I have a follow-up question for you on this.
Okay.
Speaking of Cardinals home runs, so I'll answer this.
I'll answer your question with a different question.
I'm going to answer your question with another question that you can try to answer with a question if you wish.
Okay.
No, so
this is going to be the worst segment of all time.
No, I think the person that I have picked is Nolan Gorman.
That's who I'm leaning towards as well. It would not surprise me if Newt, especially if he figured out this pull power that supposedly he was working with Nolan Arenado on this.
Do you say pool power? Was he practicing in a pool?
No. Pool. P-U-L-L. That's a word.
It sounded like you said pool.
Well, it's basically the difference between Swiss, and Swedes. So, take what you will from there. That's what we do, right? We talk sports and we talk shit.
Yeah, you need to get better at talking shit. You're doing good tonight, though.
I'm pretty decent at it on my own. I don't need to get better. There are other things I do need to get better at, because you are better than me at things like life in general. But talking shit, I am high in that skill. I could see Newt going for it. I could see if Arenado has a bounce back year, he could. And I think, I don't know if he's there this year, but I do think within the next 2 or 3 years, Walker will be the leading home run hitter for this team. Absolutely. The next one is a hot take. I believe it was from.
You just skipped over my follow-up question, but that's fine. So here's the thing that I
wasn't important.
And you mentioned the Newt thing. I see Newt as somebody who's got 20 home run power. I see Gorman as somebody who's got 40 plus home run power, right? As long as he's healthy and if he gets to play in the DH role, I see him. He's going to be in the 30s somewhere. The only other player this year that I project in the 30s potentially was Nolan Arenado. But how many players do the Cardinals have that hit the 20 home run mark this year?
This past year?
No, this coming year. How many will hit it this coming year?
How many will hit it? Oh God, this lineup is deep though. Like there is a lot of power in this lineup. So I'm going to go...
Using deep and power and the same stretch there is something that's going to get Matley to start watching this.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that, considering that we have asked him multiple times and that has not worked out. Let's see. We're just going to go down the list. Walker, Gorman, Arenado, Goldie. It's 4. And I think Newt can. So I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say 5 20 home run hitters. Oh, and Contreras, 6. Sorry, now I'm done.
Now I'm done. I went with 5 because I felt like one of those was not going to get there. I don't know which one.
If you had to pick one, who do you think it would be? There's 2 I think that are more obvious.
Newt or Contreras.
Really? Those are not the 2 I was going to pick as the not going to hit 20 home runs. I would say the two that I think are most likely not to hit it. Newt is probably a good answer. I think he probably comes close to 20 normally, but may not exceed. Goldie, not as young as he once was. Bat speed is going to start slowing down. I think it already has. That's going to naturally result in a loss of power. And Gorman's back is like, what the hell is going on? Although he cut out caramel popcorn, supposedly, and he dropped some weight. So he came in the camp a little slimmer just by not eating the popcorn. So I got to give him some credit there. We'll see what happens.
I think it's funny that you seem pretty low on Gorman right now. After
I'm not low on Gorman, it's just I could see him not hitting 20 home runs this year. I can imagine that world very easily.
I feel like if Gorman's not hitting the 20 home run mark, then he's lost his value to you for the year. Potentially, right? Unless he's cranking out crap ton of doubles, which could be the case. But
in this situation, he's injured.
The reason that I listed Contreras in there is that I think he hit exactly 20 home runs last year. He hit 22 and 22, I think, and 21 and 20 in 2021. So, I mean, like, he hovers right at that 20 home run mark for the last few years. So I could see him potentially not hitting that number, right? If he has any kind of, anything to slow him down, or if he has a cold stretch. Newt has yet to show it over a full season, and he has fought injuries as well. But again, if he's healthy for a whole year, I expect him to hit, somewhere between 18 and 23, 24 home runs a year.
Yeah. And 22 and 23, Newt played 110, 120 games and had 14 home runs in each. So that doesn't project out to 20, but if he really figures out how to be a little bit more consistent, which we've already talked about, I think he could hit it. Contreras. Yeah, I mean, he's had 5 seasons in the majors where he's hit 20 home runs. In his other seasons, he's been like hurt for a long period of time. I think I'd take him for 20. I'd take him for 20.
We'll see who comes up. I still think 5. I think we have 5 20 home run hitters because I think there's 6 guys that can hit that number.
That's fair, and that gives you like a little bit of room for someone not to do it.
I think the other guy who's going to fly under the radar here that I did think about is Brendan Donovan, depending on playing time, and what he does. For whatever reason, I have a hunch that he's gonna hit some bombs this year, and it'll be interesting to see.
Well, to be fair, he only played 95 games last year, and he hit 11 home runs. So that's pretty close to 20 if he stayed healthy for the full year. So just maybe you're not as stupid as I thought you were for a moment. Although it would be really funny to me.
Your face was like, Tyler, you're an idiot. And I'm like, he unlocked some power last year early in the year until he messed up his wrist.
I do want to say, though, how freaking hilarious would it be if in 8 months we're talking about this again and the Cardinals do have 6 players that hit 20 home runs and it is Donovan and not Contreras. No, and it becomes, or not, then they hit 6. You have 6 players who hit 20 home runs, and it's Donovan is the added one, but you're still right about Contreras. How funny would that be?
Hey, you know what? I'd still take it. You'd have 0 complaints from me.
Yeah.
If I have 6 guys on my team that are hitting 20 bombs, I'm happy. I'm in a good mood.
I'm a happy guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot take: STL teams always choke in the playoffs.
Not a hot take. They don't always choke unless you're just talking in the last 2019. That's what, 5 years ago? People forget very quickly that, first of all, there's a lot of teams and there's only so many championships to go around, but Blues literally just won a championship 5 years ago.
Yeah.
St. Louis City has been around for 1 year, so like slow your roll.
Right.
And the Cardinals have the second most World Series titles of any Major League Baseball club. The only team with more is the Yankees.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, while the Rams were here, made it to the Super Bowl twice, won one of them.
It's true.
I'm going to say no. They don't always choke. Now, recent history would say otherwise, but you don't have to go that far back to get our last championship with the Blues in 2019.
Yeah. I don't think the Cardinals count as choking in the playoffs because they're always the inferior team anymore.
I almost spit out my water.
Yeah. That was I'm going to go ahead and hit the mark button for you so you can find that one later. But yeah, that was that's my take on that.
Does it count as choking if you're supposed to lose?
Right.
On the flip side, I mean, the Blues did choke for their entire existence.
Right. No, so, they're not wrong about the Blues. The Blues had 1 year they didn't choke. Yeah. The robot strike zone should be implemented in MLB. I think everyone's for that.
I don't know who's against it at this point.
Right. Like everyone gets pissed when the call goes against their team. Like a call that is clearly wrong. Like we just want it called fairly and correctly. There's nothing controversial.
I was like,
about that.
That's not a hot take. This should have been implemented years ago.
Yeah. Any MLB rules that you would change?
I would get rid of this no shift rule. And I know you're gonna make a face here, but I think you should be able to line up wherever the hell you want in the field. And again,
learn the bunt, you assholes.
Exactly. There was times, right, when Matt Carpenter laid down a bunt down the third baseline and just essentially walked to first base.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And so you know what? If that's what they want to do, fuck them. We'll make them pay. And so I don't care if you shift or don't, because I don't think I think if you understand the game and you know how to hit, if you know how to do things like bunt and the little things, then you can beat the shift, you can beat those things all the time. If you want to roll up and have 5 guys in your infield because you don't think the guy's going to hit it to the outfield, go for it, man. It's all you.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I would change any rules. I do think I would move the pitcher's mound back like 6 inches. I think the pitchers have become a little dominant over the last 10 to 15 years. So I think moving them back would help.
I don't think how much of that is the pitchers becoming dominant versus the lack of steroids.
Well, it's not that, right? I think because the pitchers were using steroids too, right? So like the batters take all the flack for steroid use, but like pitchers were juicing back then. The problem is that now you have a ton of pitchers that are throwing 100 and they all have these ridiculous curves and sliders that no one can get a bat on. Like the pitching is better now than the hitting is overall.
Yeah. Here's
not
another,
if you're the Cardinals though.
Yeah. Here's a rule that I want to implement.
Okay.
If a player or a coach is thrown out of the game, they should be given a headset in front of the TV to help on the broadcast.
I don't know if I want them to help on the broadcast. I think I just want them to replace the broadcast.
Oh, yeah. Let's rephrase that. Yeah. I want them to be the broadcast.
Yeah.
This mother.
Oh, and here's another. Yeah, right. Here's another bullshit missed ball. So okay, and then the last one we have also comes from our good friend Jacob again over at Blues Fan Forum. And this is a hot take, and I just want to know if you're buying or selling this. We have 3 days until the trade deadline for the NHL. The Blues trade Buchnevich at the deadline and still find a way to make the playoffs. Snuggerud replaces Buchnevich after his college season.
Let me check up on this, and I will give you my firm answer. in just a moment. Have they announced the Frozen 4 yet?
I have not seen. So I do not know.
Okay. So here's the deal. I don't think we see Snuggerud this year. And there's a few reasons behind it. And because of that, I don't think we make the playoffs. I don't think, and this is not a knock on our young guys. We have some young guys in the Blues system that are going to be absolute studs, that are going to contribute for some years to come. What the issue here is, though, those guys take a little bit of time to get up to speed and be ready to play at the NHL level. As good as Snuggerud is, as good as Dvorsky is, they're not going to roll in and just immediately take over games. Same thing, Zach Bolduc, he came up and he played, and he looked good. I'm not taking anything away from Zach Bolduc. Zach Bolduc is not Robert Thomas. Look at Robert Thomas. He came up in his rookie year. He won a Stanley Cup. He wasn't even playing center. He was playing out on the wing because that's where he was, even though he was in long-term projected at a center, was drafted as a center. That's not where they played him. They put him in a role where he could succeed, he could learn and grow and get up to speed at the NHL speed and the NHL game level. If we trade away Buchnevich, there's no way we're making the playoffs. Snuggerud also likely would only have 2 or 3, maybe 4 games he'd be able to play in if Minnesota makes it to the Frozen 4, which runs into April. So and if he plays in those 3 or 4 games, per the NHL rules, you lose a year. His clock starts ticking. You lose a year of him on your rookie contract scale. Right. So you're not going to bring him up if it's only for 3 or 4 games. You're going to wait till next season. Right? You're going to give him an off season. You're going to let him play with guys. You're going to have set lines. He's going to know who he's playing with. So no, if we trade Buchnevich, no, we don't make the playoffs. Even if we trade him, even if we don't trade Buchnevich, right? Still not sure that we make the playoffs where we're sitting at right now. But our only chance, I think, is to keep Buchnevich to make the playoffs. And again, I at this point would not call up any more of these young guys because there's not enough time. And by young guys, I'm talking our top guys, right?
Right.
Dvorsky, Snuggerud. I would not call them up this year because this year to me is more or less a lost cause. And the fact that we're not going to win the Stanley Cup. So why would you burn a year of control on these young stud players that we need to contribute for the next few years?
Right. And it's so late in the year, it's not worth burning, right? Like get the full year out of them for sure. Okay. I've got one more bonus hot take or question for you. Okay. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
It's an MLS question. Do the Colorado Rapids make the playoffs?
I think they make it as the 8 or 9 and play in the play-in game. And I think they get destroyed in the play-in game just so that I can laugh in Stan Kroenke's face and watch his team. You know, honestly, I hope he makes it as the 9 seed so he doesn't even get a home playoff game. Yeah. So they have to travel for their one play-in game and then watch his team lose as he thinks all he can think about is the money. It's because if there's one thing we know about Stan Kroenke, it's that he loves money more than anything else. And that includes ethics, being a good person, or, generally just, anything in life. I think if it came down between Stan Kroenke giving up his money or his family, he'd give up his family so he could keep his money and he'd just try to buy a new one.
As one does.
One does when they have that much money. And because of that, Stan Kroenke's an asshole. So with that, Stan Kroenke, we hate you. Good night, everyone.